Liam had always been good at keeping secrets. Not the dangerous kind. Nothing illegal, nothing shameful. Just the quiet kind. The kind that sits in your chest like a stone you've swallowed and can't quite digest. His secret lived in a small cardboard box at the back of his closet, hidden behind old textbooks and a dusty guitar he hadn't touched since middle school. Inside the box were things he had collected over 2 years. A soft pink scarf he'd found at a thrift store, a tube of lipstick in a shade called Rose Petal, a pair of sheer stockings still in their packaging, and a simple black dress he had ordered online using a gift card he'd bought with cash. Liam was 17 years old. He lived in a small house in Portland, Oregon, with his mother, Diana, and his older sister, Maya. His father had left when Liam was 12, a quiet departure that everyone pretended was mutual, but no one actually believed. Since then, the house had been a place of women. His mother worked as a nurse. His sister was studying to be a therapist. And Liam was trying to figure out who he was. The problem wasn't that he didn't know. The problem was that he knew too well. And the knowing terrified him. Every night, after his mother went to sleep and his sister closed her bedroom door, Liam would retrieve the box. He would lock his own door, turn on his desk lamp, never the overhead light, and he would transform, not into someone else, into himself. The black dress slipped over his head easily now. He had practiced enough. The stockings took patience, but he had learned. The lipstick was still messy. He hadn't mastered the art of staying inside the lines. But the pink scarf tied around his neck covered the worst of it. He would stand in front of the small mirror on his closet door, and he would look. And for those few hours, he would breathe. The reflection staring back wasn't a stranger. It was the person he had always been, finally allowed to exist. Soft features that his classmates called boyish suddenly looked different in the right light. His long eyelashes, a trait he had once hated. Framed eyes that seemed brighter when he wasn't hiding. "You're beautiful," he whispered once, and the word felt like a key turning in a lock. Then, always, the fear would return. He would wipe off the lipstick, fold the dress, hide the box, and climb into bed as Liam, the boy everyone expected, the son, the brother, the mask. But masks have a way of cracking. The discovery happened on a Tuesday. Maya had come home early from her evening class. The house was quiet. Their mother was working a night shift, and Maya had planned to make tea and read before bed. But as she passed Liam's room, she noticed the door was slightly ajar. A sliver of light escaped through the crack. She almost kept walking. Liam was 17. He deserved his privacy. But something made her pause. A sound she couldn't quite identify. Soft, rhythmic, like fabric shifting. "Liam," she called softly. No answer. She pushed the door open. Liam stood in the middle of his room, frozen, one hand still touching the hem of a black dress. His eyes were wide. His lips were pink, not from chapstick, but from lipstick. A pink scarf hung around his neck. Stockings covered his legs. The box was open on his bed. For 3 full seconds, neither of them moved. Then Liam's face crumpled. "Maya, I can explain." But Maya didn't let him finish. She stepped inside, closed the door behind her, and sat down on the edge of his bed. Her expression wasn't anger. It wasn't disgust. It was something softer, something Liam had never seen before. "Okay," she said quietly. "Explain." Liam's hands were shaking. He wanted to rip off the dress, hide everything, pretend this had never happened. But something in Maya's voice, the calmness, the lack of judgment, held him in place. "I've been doing this for 2 years," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe longer. I don't know. I look in the mirror, and I don't see Liam. I see someone else. But not someone else. Me. Just a different version of me." Maya nodded slowly. "A version that wears dresses. A version that's a girl." The words hung in the air between them. Liam had never said them aloud before. Not to anyone. Not even to himself in the dark. Saying them now felt like jumping off a cliff. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. "How long have you known?" she asked. "Forever," Liam whispered. "But I didn't have the words for it. I thought if I could just keep it secret, keep it in the box, it would go away. But it doesn't go away, Maya. It just gets louder." Maya squeezed his hand. "You're my little brother," she said. Then she stopped, tilted her head, and corrected herself. "Or little sister. I don't know what you wanted to call you." Liam's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know either. I've only been this person in this room. I don't know who I am outside of it." "Then we figure out together," Maya said. "That's what family does." Telling their mother was harder. Diana had spent her life taking care of others. As a nurse, she had held the hands of dying patients and comforted grieving families. As a single mother, she had worked double shifts to pay for piano lessons and braces and college application fees. She was strong, practical, and deeply loving, but she was also tired. And Liam was terrified that his truth would be the thing that finally broke her. Maya helped him prepare. They sat in her room 3 days after the discovery, making lists of what to say. "Start with 'I love you,'" Maya advised, "then tell her the truth. Don't apologize for who you are. Apologize for keeping it secret if you want, but not for being yourself. What if she doesn't understand?" Then we explain. And if she still doesn't understand, we give her time. Mom's not a monster, Liam. She's been through a lot. But so have you. They chose a Saturday afternoon. Diana was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for soup. The radio played softly in the background. It was such an ordinary scene, the kind of scene that had played out 1,000 times before, and Liam was about to shatter it. "Mom," he said, standing in the doorway. Diana looked up, knife still in hand. "Hey, sweetheart, everything okay?" Liam's throat tightened. He glanced at Maya, who was standing behind him, and she gave him a small nod. "Can we talk?" Liam asked. "Both of us." Diana set down the knife, wiped her hands on a towel, and led them to the living room. They sat on the couch together, mother, daughter, and the child who was about to become someone new. Liam took a breath. Then another. Then he told her. He told her about the box in the closet, the black dress, the pink scarf, the years of looking in the mirror and seeing the wrong person. He told her about the shame he had carried, the fear that had kept him silent, the loneliness of keeping a secret from the people he loved most. He told her that he was a girl. When he finished, he was crying. He hadn't meant to cry. He had promised himself he wouldn't. But the tears came anyway, hot and unstoppable. Diana sat very still. Her face was unreadable. For a terrifying moment, Liam thought she might get up and walk away. Then she reached out and pulled him into her arms. "My baby," she said, her voice breaking. "My sweet baby. You've been carrying this all alone." Liam sobbed into her shoulder. "I was scared." I know you were." She held him tighter. "But you're not alone anymore. You hear me? You are not alone." They stayed like that for a long time. Maya joined them, wrapping her arms around both of them, and the three of them sat on the couch in a heap of tears and love and the messy, complicated work of becoming a family again. When they finally pulled apart, Diana looked at Liam, really looked at him, and said, "What do you want me to call you?" Liam wiped his eyes. "I've been thinking about that. I think I want to be called Lena." Diana smiled, a real smile, the kind that reached your eyes. "Lena," she repeated. "It's beautiful. It suits you. It suits me." "I've always known there was something different about you," Diana said. "Not wrong. Just different. I thought you were just sensitive or artistic or maybe gay. I never thought. But now that you've said it, it makes sense. You've always been my daughter. I just didn't know it yet." Lena, for that was who she was, who she had always been, buried her face in her mother's shoulder and cried until there were no tears left. The days that followed were strange and tender and full of careful conversations. Diana asked questions, not because she was suspicious, but because she wanted to understand. Did Lena want to start hormone therapy? Did she want to change her name at school? Did she want to tell their extended family? Did she want to wear girls' clothes outside the house? Lena didn't have answers to most of these questions. She knew she was a girl. She knew she wanted to be called Lena. Everything else was a fog of uncertainty. Then we take it one day at a time, Diana said. No pressure. No deadlines. You tell me what you need and I'll help you get it. The first step was the smallest. Lena stopped hiding her clothes. Maya helped her move the box from the back of the closet to the front. They hung the black dress on a proper hanger. They arranged the scarves and stockings in a drawer. They bought a small makeup bag and filled it with drugstore products. Nothing fancy, just things to practice with. "This is your space," Maya said, looking around Lena's room. "Your life, your body. You get to decide what it looks like." Lena stood in front of the mirror. She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, the same clothes she always wore, but something was different. She wasn't hiding anymore. The girl in the reflection was still there, still waiting, but now she had permission to exist. "Thank you," Lena said to Maya. "For what?" "For not running away." Maya hugged her. "You're my sibling. That's not going to change. The only thing that changes is that now I get to know the real you." 3 months after coming out to her family, Lena decided she was ready to go outside. Not to school, that felt impossible. Not to a crowded mall or a busy street. Just outside, to the backyard, to sit on the porch and feel the sun on her face while wearing what she wanted to wear. Diana helped her choose an outfit. A soft lavender sundress, simple and light, with a pair of flat sandals. Maya did her makeup, just a little concealer, a touch of mascara, a tinted lip balm. Nothing dramatic, nothing that screamed for attention. "You look beautiful," Maya said, stepping back. Lena looked in the mirror. The face staring back was still angular, still undeniably masculine in some ways, but there was something new there, too, a softness in her expression, a light in her eyes. "Really?" she asked. "Really," Diana said from the doorway. "Now, are you ready?" Lena took a breath. Then she opened the back door and stepped outside. The sun was warm on her shoulders. A breeze lifted the hem of her dress. She walked to the porch swing and sat down, smoothing the lavender fabric over her knees. The yard was quiet, just the sound of birds and the distant hum of traffic. She closed her eyes and let herself feel it. The freedom, the peace, the rightness. "This is who I am," she whispered to no one. "This is who I've always been." And for the first time in 17 years, she believed it. But not every day was like that. Some days, the dysphoria hit like a wave, and Lena couldn't look at herself without flinching. Some days, she saw only the boy she used to be, and the girl she was becoming felt like a cruel joke. Some days, she wanted to tear off her dress and crawl back into the mask. On those days, Maya held her. "I look like a man in a dress," Lena sobbed one evening, standing in front of the mirror in her lavender sundress. "You look like a girl finding her way," Maya said. "My shoulders are too broad. My hands are too big. My voice is too deep." Those things don't make you less of a girl. They make you a girl with broad shoulders, big hands, and a deep voice. That's allowed. Lena wiped her eyes. "Is it?" "Of course it is. Do you think every cis girl fits some perfect mold? Some have broad shoulders. Some have deep voices. Some have narrow hips and small breasts and jawlines that could cut glass. That doesn't make them any less women." Lena looked at the mirror again. The girl there was crying, mascara streaking down her cheeks. But she was still there. She hadn't disappeared. "I wish I had started sooner," Lena whispered. "We all wish that," Maya said. "But you started. That's what matters." Telling her classmates was the hardest part. Lena had spent 4 years at Westview High School as Liam, quiet, unassuming, the boy who sat in the back of the classroom and never raised his hand. He had friends, but not close ones. He had teachers who knew his name, but not his story. Now Lena had to walk back into that building as someone new. Diana met with the school administration first. The principal, a kind woman named Mrs. Okonkwo, had dealt with transgender students before. She assured Diana that Lena would be protected, that her teachers would use her new name and pronouns, that any student who harassed her would face consequences. "It's not the administration I'm worried about," Diana said. "I know," Mrs. Okonkwo replied, "but we'll be here, every step." The first day was terrifying. Lena wore a pair of women's jeans and a soft pink sweater. Nothing flashy, just comfortable. Maya had helped her style her hair in loose waves. She had practiced her walk, her posture, the way she held her head. She walked to front doors with her heart pounding so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. The hallways were crowded. Students rushed past her, most of them not looking, not caring. A few glanced her way, curious glances, confused glances, but no one said anything. No one pointed. No one laughed. In her first class, English, the teacher, Mr. Delgado, looked up when she walked in and said, "Good morning, Lena. Take your seat." Lena. The name sounded different in the classroom. Official. Real. She sat down. The girl next to her, a quiet student named Priya, smiled and said, "I like your sweater." "Thanks," Lena managed. "It's my favorite color." They didn't talk about the transition. They didn't talk about the past. They just sat there, two girls in English class. And for the first time, Lena felt like she belonged. Not every interaction was kind. In the hallway between second and third period, a boy she didn't know muttered something under his breath, a word she chose not to repeat. Her face flushed. Her hands trembled, but she kept walking. At lunch, she sat with Maya and a few of Maya's friends. They didn't treat her differently. They asked about her classes, her teachers, her plans for the weekend. Normal things. Ordinary things. "You're doing great," Maya whispered at one point. "I don't feel great." "Doesn't matter. You're doing it anyway. That's what courage is." 6 months after coming out, Lena started hormone replacement therapy. The endocrinologist was a gentle woman named Dr. Park who had treated dozens of transgender patients. She explained the process clearly: estrogen, testosterone blockers, regular blood tests, patience. "The changes will come slowly," Dr. Park said. "Softening skin, breast growth, fat redistribution. It takes time. Be kind to yourself." Lena left the appointment with a prescription and a heart full of hope. The first few weeks brought nothing noticeable. Then came small shifts. Her skin felt smoother, her body odor changed, her emotions sat closer to the surface. She cried at commercials. She cried at sunsets. She cried when her mother brought home her favorite takeout. "You're turning into me," Maya teased. "I'm turning into someone who feels things," Lena said. "It's new." The physical changes came slowly. Her breasts, small but undeniably there, began to form. Her face to soften around the edges. Her body started to redistribute fat in ways that felt almost miraculous after years of hating her masculine shape. But the hardest part wasn't the physical changes. It was the waiting, the in-between, the feeling of being suspended between two versions of herself, neither fully gone nor fully arrived. Diana bought her a journal. "Write it down," she said. "The good days, the bad days, the boring days. You'll want to remember this." Lena wrote, page after page, filling the journal with the messiness of her transition. The small victories, a stranger calling her ma'am at the grocery store. The setbacks, a relative who refused to use her new name. The quiet moments, sitting on the couch with her mom, watching TV, feeling almost ordinary. "I don't know who I'm becoming," she wrote one night, "but for the first time, I'm excited to find out." Legally becoming Lena took months. Paperwork, court dates, waiting periods. The judge who approved her name change was a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "I've been doing this for 5 years," she said, stamping the document, "and it never gets old. Congratulations, Miss Lena." Miss Lena, she repeated the words in her head all the way home. They tasted like freedom. Diana had planned a small celebration, just the three of them and a few close friends. There was a cake with "Welcome, Lena" written in pink frosting. There was sparkling cider and terrible party hats, and a banner that Maya had clearly made herself on the home printer. "You didn't have to do this," Lena said. "Yes, we did," Diana replied. "You've been waiting your whole life for someone to celebrate you. We're not going to let that moment pass." They ate cake. They laughed. They took pictures, dozens of them. Lena smiling in a way she had never smiled before. Telling the rest of the family was complicated. Lena's grandparents lived in Arizona. Her aunts and uncles were scattered across the country. Some of them, she knew, would be accepting. Others would struggle. A few, she suspected, would reject her entirely. "We don't have to tell them all at once," Maya said. "We can do it slowly, one conversation at a time." They started with Grandma Ruth, Diana's mother. Ruth was 72, sharp as a tack, and had always had a soft spot for Lena. even when Lena was Liam. Diana made the call on speakerphone, so Lena could hear. "Mom," Diana said, "Lena has something she wants to tell you." There was a pause. Then Ruth's voice, warm and curious. "Lena? Who's Lena?" Lena took a breath. "It's me, Grandma. I used to be Liam. I'm a girl. My name is Lena now." Another pause. Longer this time. Then Ruth said, "Well, it's about time." Lena blinked. "What?" "I've been watching you for years, sweetheart. The way you carried yourself. The way you looked at women's clothes in catalogs. I may be old, but I'm not blind." Ruth's voice softened. "I don't pretend to understand everything, but I understand love. And I love you. Lena, that's a beautiful name." Lena cried. Again. She was starting to think that was just who she was now. A girl who cried at everything. "Thank you, Grandma," she whispered. "Thank you for trusting me," Ruth replied. "Now, your Uncle Mark, that's going to be a harder conversation. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it." 2 years after she came out, Lena was invited to her cousin's wedding. This was the first major family event she would attend as herself. The first time she would see aunts and uncles and cousins who hadn't seen her since before the transition. The first time she would walk into a room full of people who remembered Liam and had to learn to see Lena. She was terrified. Maya helped her choose a dress, deep blue, floor length, with a fitted bodice and a flowing skirt. Diana helped her practice her posture, her smile, the way she would introduce herself. "You don't have to go," Diana said the morning of the wedding. "Yes, I do," Lena said. "If I hide now, I'll be hiding forever." The wedding was held at a small vineyard outside Portland. The ceremony was beautiful. Flowers everywhere, soft music, the smell of wine and fresh grass. Lena sat in the third row, between her mother and her sister, and she held her head high. Some relatives approached her with open arms. "Lena, it's so good to see you." Others hesitated, stumbling over her name, her pronouns, her presence. A few avoided her entirely. She didn't let it break her. At the reception, her cousin, the groom, found her by the dessert table. "Hey," he said, "I'm glad you came." "I almost didn't," Lena admitted. "I know, but you did, and that matters." He hugged her, a real hug, the kind that said your family and nothing changes that. "You look beautiful, by the way." Lena smiled. "Thank you." She danced with her mother. She danced with her sister. She even danced with a distant cousin who didn't seem to care about the past, only the present. And at the end of the night, when the music faded and the guests trickled out, Lena stood alone on the edge of the vineyard, looking up at the stars. She thought about Liam, about the boy who had hidden in his room, terrified of being seen, about the box in the closet, the black dress, the pink scarf, about the years of silence and shame and longing. And she thought about Lena, about the girl who walked to the front doors of Westview High, who had cried in her mother's arms, who had danced at her cousin's wedding in a blue dress that made her feel like herself. "I made it," she whispered to the stars. "I actually made it." The stars didn't answer. But somewhere inside her, a quiet voice, finally her voice, said, "You're home." Lena graduated from Westview High with honors. She was voted most inspiring senior by her classmates, an award she never expected and still didn't quite believe she deserved. She was accepted to University of Oregon, where she studied psychology with a focus on LGBTQ plus mental health. She wanted to help other young people navigate the journey. She had walked alone for so long. Maya graduated the same year and started working as a therapist. She specialized in gender identity and family counseling. Inspired, she said, by watching her little sister find her way. Diana still worked as a nurse, but she had cut back on her shifts. She spent more time at home now, tending her garden, reading novels, and hosting Sunday dinners for her 2 daughters. Lena's grandparents came to visit every summer. Grandma Ruth brought her famous apple pie and never once used the wrong name. Some relatives never came around. That hurt. Lena didn't pretend it didn't. But she had learned that family wasn't just about blood. It was about the people who showed up, who stayed, who loved you even when they didn't fully understand. One evening, Lena sat on the back porch of her childhood home, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Maya sat beside her, a cup of tea in her hands. Diana was inside, cooking dinner. You know, Maya said, I was thinking about that night, when I walked into your room and saw you in that black dress. Lena winced. I was so scared. I know. I could see it in your eyes. But you know what else I saw? What? I saw peace. For the first time in your life, you looked peaceful. That's when I knew. Not just that you were telling the truth, but that I had to help you. Lena leaned her head on Maya's shoulder. Thank you for not running away. I told you, I'm not going anywhere. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the colors deepen. A bird landed on the feeder, a cardinal, bright red against the fading light. It tilted its head, looked at them, and flew away. Do you ever miss him? Maya asked quietly. Liam? Lena considered the question. Sometimes. Not because I want him back, but because he kept me safe until I was ready to become myself. I'm grateful to him. Maya nodded. He was brave in his own way. He was terrified, Lena said, but he kept going anyway. That's the same thing, I think. Diana appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a towel. Dinner's ready, girls. They went inside. The table was set 3 plates, 3 glasses, a vase of fresh flowers from the garden. The soup was the same recipe Diana had been making for years, the one that tasted like childhood and comfort and home. They ate, they talked, they laughed. And Lena, who had once hidden in her room, terrified of being seen, sat at the table with her mother and her sister, exactly where she belonged. She wasn't hiding anymore. She wasn't pretending anymore. She was just living. Ordinary, beautiful, impossible living. And it was more than she had ever dreamed.